I hope you're doing well. In Matthew chapter 17 and verse 20, starting in verse 19, his disciples ask him why they couldn't cast out a demon. He says in verse 20, because of your little faith. He says, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like the grain of a mustard seed, a small little mustard seed, he says, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. And that's not to say that we as Christians believe that if we just want something to happen, that it will. No, that's far from the truth. It's the fact that we believe that God can make it happen, and that we, if we put enough time, put enough effort, enough faith into it, that it will happen. In Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1, we read that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence or the conviction of things not seen. So where do we see faith in the Bible? Well, the number one story that I can think of is Abraham. He's called to leave his homeland, and God tells him, don't look back. You could think of Abraham saying, or thinking to himself at the very least, well, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going to end up, but yet he did what God said, and he didn't look back. He kept going forward. Another example of great faith comes from Matthew chapter 14. We'll start reading in verse 28. It says, and Peter answered him, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you out on the water. He said, come. So Peter got out of the boat, walked on the water, and came to Jesus. Why? Because he had faith. The next verse says, but when he saw the wind, when he saw the turmoil in his life, when he saw all the things that could go wrong, he was afraid. He was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Jesus immediately reached out his hands. It says it reached out his hands in verse 31, took hold of him, saying to him, O you of little faith. O you of little faith, why did you doubt? You ever think about that? We see Jesus somewhere in our life, and this is just metaphorical. We see Jesus, and we're like, all right, that's where I want to go. We see the life that we should live, and we say, that's where I want to go. That's what I want to do. And it's fine, and we're doing all right for a little bit. We look around, and we see all the things that could go wrong. We see all the things that might go wrong, and eventually what happens to us, we start sinking. It's a common problem. It's a common problem, and the apostles, as a matter of fact, asked for Jesus to increase their faith, and I don't think there's anything wrong for us asking him to do the same thing for us today. So in conclusion, let us build up our faith. Let us have more faith. Let us increase our faith. Even though it may be small to begin with, let us cultivate it into something greater so that we can move those mountains, whatever they may be.